Okay, let's do this. Clarity requires more than expression. It requires alignment. It requires taking the time to ensure that what is being said is what is being understood. It requires recognizing that people interpret things differently. That experience shapes preciseness, and that is what feels obvious to a person when they're being completely unclear to one another. So what it's simply saying is this: when we say stuff, it's made, it's captured, it's created, it's enhanced by my views and my opinions of my upbringing, my culture, and all those dynamics. So when someone says something, it has to go through filters to really enhance their comprehension. For example, I'm gonna give you an example. If I were to say, "Ooh, I saw a fox yesterday," right? If I made that statement, what am I saying? Did I literally see a fox? Or did I see a fine lady? Because depending on somebody from the 70s, they call ladies fox. She is a fox. She's a real fox. Or did I see a car? Because I believe in the 80s, I believe there was a car called a fox. You see what I'm saying? So when it deals with interpretation, now, I know some people, you probably say, oh, that's a bit like, I don't have to go through all that stuff. Well, this is what happens a lot of time. And this is why we don't have healthy communication skills, which we cannot foster healthy relationship expectations. You have to understand what was meant, what was being said. So it takes us pausing. It takes us pausing to find out if the verbiage, if the dialect is aligned. That's a big word.
Relationships.
How y'all doing this morning? I hope everybody is doing great. I have some exciting news. Wanted to stop by and I don't know why we always say stop by, but that seems like the script that we do on when we're doing these lives. And I know everybody's probably at work. It is Friday. Yep, it is Friday. But I wanted to kind of tell you what's been going on in my life and give you some background to some happenings. And you'll be seeing posts in a few days. I finally finished the book, A Chicken is a Chicken, and I got the proof, y'all. So I'm excited to release this on June the 14th. I will be having my book launch and signing. And this time I'm doing something different and big. I'm going to do a live podcast recording because I really think this book here, I've written a few books, but I think this book here is something you definitely is going to want to have in your library. I really do believe that. There's a lot of interesting points in this book. I have it in the hardback, in the paperback. So you can take your pick or your choice. I always like hardback books, so I definitely would do the hardback. But you could get your pick of which one you want to choose. So what is A Chicken is a Chicken? I'm going to kind of give you a roundabout view of what this is without going into the book, because I want you to get and read it. I want you to get it and be able to read it and share in the insight and the information in this book. How did this book come about? And first of all, this book took me about 3 years, y'all, to write. Seriously, about 3 years to write. And it's a collection, if you will, of experiences that I went through with, hold on, y'all, let me turn this volume down here. That I went through with different relationships that I've experienced it, and how the Lord matured me through those things. Because in a relationship, you will have shifts. And that's where this comes from, talking about the ins and outs, the ups and downs that we experience in relationship. Now, I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'm just going to pull out some of the things in the table of content, because you'll have to really read it to get the understanding and the concept of what we're talking about. Sometimes when we endeavor to have relationship with people, one of the biggest things that I have found that hold us back is our expectations. And if we're really honest, our expectations put us in a place that basically sets us up for disappointment. And I found this to be true. This is a self-propelled journey that I've experienced with, like I said, different individuals where clear expectations were not announced or clear expectations weren't understood. And because of that, you'll find out the relationship breaks in fragmentation. You find out that, good morning, Tracy, how are you? You'll find out that that relationship, it ends abruptly. And I believe it's God's will that we should have longevity in relationship because that's what Christians are supposed to do. And you'll find a lot of the work when it comes to self-development or personal development, as we so often call it, is lacking in those areas, even though we speak for God and we do all these great things and we're on God's payroll, if you will. There's still things within us as individuals we need to work on. Y'all on the little flying animal here. We need to work on. We have to develop. Now, within the Bible, it talks about spiritual maturity. And I know, don't let this chicken on the front and this, name fool you. This is centered and rooted in the things of God, and it's really talking about our ability to mature in the things of the faith. If we look in the book of Hebrews, it challenges us as believers that the writer says here, this is a time, and I'm paraphrasing, it talks about this is a time where you should be on strong meat, but because of the immaturity, you're still on milk. And it really causes the believer to a place of looking and assessing some of the things that happen in our life that we're not projecting maturity. We're in a season now that maturation is one of the things that are far from our walk with God. We're really focused on the giftings. We're in this season and time, we're focused on how well people can prophesy, how well people can teach Bible study, how well people can pray and intercede. But yet, when you really follow suit the character, it's lacking in areas. And if we go back to biblical formulation of how we should conduct and carry ourselves, one of the greatest things that the Lord left the church, he said, love the Lord thy God with all their heart, all their mind, all our soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. And he said, on these two hang all the commandments. But we've gotten away from those things. So in this book, even though it starts with a story, it navigates us through the journey of coming to that place of perfection. It's God's will that we perfect our vocation for where we've been called. And how do we do that? By implementing his strategies from the word, that we can walk in those ways that we're showing or doing or being holy, for he is holy. So within this book, when you get this book, what can you expect? A chicken is a chicken. First of all, expectations is believing what a person shows you when they show you. And I know that's a hard concept to grasp, because a lot of times when we interact with people, we have this hope or we have this type of thing that we want to make people become something that they don't have the capacity to operate in. And what it does, it leaves us disappointed. I know it in myself, because I'm not a perfect person. I'm striving to be perfect in God. And I will be the first one to say, I know I've disappointed people. But here's the thing, guys. No one can disappoint us if we have realistic expectations. If we have realistic expectations, it's almost impossible for us to be in a place of disappointment. But what we do, we override the signs. We overlook the signs. And here it is. It's not a bad thing. I think sometimes we think it's a bad thing because we're all flawed, if we be totally honest. I don't care the most saint of saints, the most angelic person you could hang out with. There are some flaws in the character, but what our job should be as believers, as followers, as disciples of Christ, is to strive to be that way. But a lot of times what we find when we have faulty When we have faulty filtration systems, we cannot accurately assess, and there's no awareness. Oh my God. There's no awareness, so we just do things. You ever been around a person that just, and I'm talking about believer. Today I'm addressing believers, that they just say anything come out of their mouth. They're very hurtful. They're very mean. We're in a time now because of trauma that people have not dealt with. I have seen some of the meanest people that you have ever encountered, and they're believers. I'm talking about will harshly say things to people, hurt people's feelings knowingly, and don't hasten or try to get it right. When the Bible tells us specifically, and this scripture is not talking about the devil, it says agree with your adversary quickly. It's talking about people where there are disagreements, that we should make it our business to go and be reconciled. Reconciled don't mean you have to go out to lunch with somebody, but it means that you've come to a place of pardon and forgiveness that you can still move on in your day-to-day journey and do what is pleasing to Christ. I have number of relationships, encounters where I offended somebody or someone offended me. And I want to say it that way because I don't want to pitch this story like I'm without offending people. And not to my knowledge, it wasn't something I intentionally did. But let's be truthful, y'all. Sometimes our intent is not there to do, but it's an offense to somebody. So what do we do as believers? We make it right. We make it right. So in this book, A Chicken is a Chicken, it first deals with coming to the realization of what capacity people operate in. I think it was Maya Angelou that said this. She said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Now, that does not mean you treat a person bad. That does not mean you disconnect. You put them in a place that you understand the rules of engagement. That's another point that's in this book. You understand the rules of engagement. It speaks to those areas that once you understand that individual, then if you want to have any interaction in life with them, then you set up those things to accommodate so you won't be disappointed. Right? Are y'all understanding? If you understand that, throw a thumbs up in the chat. But so it's like this, and I'll give you an example that I'll use myself. I'm a person, when it comes to like phone and callbacks and all that stuff, I'm terrible, y'all. I'm terrible when it comes to that. And I'm not saying that as a trophy because it's something I'm really working on. But what's funny to me when it comes to people and individuals, we don't extend grace. We don't extend grace, and we'll sever a whole relationship because of a phone call. Because of a phone call. What am I saying to you? When you understand the personage of that person, because we all have our flaws, we all have something that we have to tail and deal with because it's not to our expectations, right? Y'all follow what I'm saying? So how do we deal with that? These are very practical steps. What you need to do, you need to find out, okay, I understand that this is how this person is. So if I need something, I'm going to start this early to get an answer for something. Now, that's not going to be a reasonable task for everybody because some people say, you know what? Nah, that's a bit much. I can't incorporate those type of actions in my life, so I'm going to break rank with these people. And that's fine. But what I'm saying is you got to do what's necessary to keep you from a place of being disappointed. Does that make sense? And then you pursue in the relationship. Some can foster those behaviors and move in it. Some can't. But we want to be in a place where we're understanding on both sides and make sure we're not jumping over in a place of pride where you feel like your way is right, your way of seeing things is right. Because what happens, you get blindsided and you forget that you're flawed as well. Y'all see how it's working? So we have to have healthy expectation for people and understand, how am I going to interact with this person? How am I going to deal with this person? When you have people that are very sensitive. Some folk, y'all, and this is what trips me out because I've had the opportunity just to study people. Some people are super sensitive and they don't understand. If you're a person that's easily offended and you're heightened in your sensitivity when it comes to offense, you're sensitive. But you dare not tell a sensitive person that, because it's like they'll punch you in the head, because they consider it being a bad thing and not an opportunity to work through it. So what am I saying? I know, this episode or this talk is probably not going to get a lot of likes or different things like that. And it's fine. I'm totally fine with that. But what we got to understand, in order for us to operate and work harmonious here on earth, these are things we're going to have to deal with. There is a whole scripture on offenses. There's a whole scripture or passage of scripture that deals with how we handle disagreements with one another. So this is my challenge to us as believers. And I'm not throwing off, but I'm talking to us all. This is what you can expect when you get this Chicken is a Chicken book. It says managing healthy relationship expectations. The Bible tells you that if you have an offense or if someone has offended you, go tell them. And this is something that we rarely do. How in the world can you mend the relationship or make the relationship right if you never go to the person to sort it out? You got to go to the person. You have to give them the opportunity to make it right. But you'll find in today's time, people won't do that. They won't tell you, but they'll tell everybody else. They'll tell everybody else, and what happens, it severs the relationship, and that would have been something great now is stifled and stagnant. Are y'all understanding? So in this book, it deals with these particular principles. That's why I say I'm probably killing my book sales. They're like, oh no, I don't want to read that. That's probably what people are saying, but that's what the Lord laid on my heart. That's what I put in this book. And this is what's going to bless people, because it's going to show you how to manage relationships. It's going to show you another topic that I deal with in the book. Everything heard was not necessarily what was said. Everything heard is not what was necessarily said. What do I mean by that? Sometimes my wife and I have adopted this little saying that we call it hearing through your insecurities. And I want to pause a moment to deal with what is an insecurity. Insecurity is anything that you're not secure in. It could be how you speak. It could be your color. It could be from past hurts. Maybe people didn't value your voice. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you were in a company of your siblings where they didn't let you speak a lot. You couldn't get your words out or your thoughts out. Or people always say, oh, be quiet, you don't know what you're talking about. So what happened, you adopted a mentality that nobody wants to hear what you have to say, or everybody tries to silence you. So because you walk with that type of rhythm, now if somebody says something not intentionally to silence you, you're still operating from the impact of that trauma. Does that make sense, guys? So now you're a person, people can have a small conversation with you because you feel like people trying to get you. And you always come with a clap back because you made an inner vow with yourself. Ain't nobody going to shut me down, nobody going to this, that, and the other. You have all these things. And there is a need for healing. Oh my God, get healed. Get healed. Because you're forfeiting so many relationships. It's so funny to me when you think about the impact of not being healed in those areas and how many calamitous relationships people have had. I've seen this where people have had, when you look at their track record, it's like they're constantly moving into new relationships and they can't hold any because what happened, they have not come to the place to deal with those places of hurt in areas within themselves that they can truly engage in real relationship. I'm going to let y'all in on something. And if you're one of those persons, I'm not particularly speaking about anybody, but if you're one of those persons, I'm sorry, if the shoe fit, wear it. How can you continue to travel places and engage in new relationships and everybody's got something wrong with you? Something wrong with that, y'all. Something wrong. If I keep interacting with different relationships and I'm on relationship number 12, and this is what I mean, there's no awareness. There's no type of assessing the situation. There's no type of sitting in a place where you can navigate through those places and say, hey, I need to deal with this. So sometimes you hear through faulty filtration systems and what you're discerning to be what people are saying about you, it's really not that, right? The way people look at you, it's really not that. I've been preaching this, y'all, for like that's why it took me so long to get this book out. It took me a minute to get this book out because these are the things that I had to navigate. So a lot of the things that I'm bringing to you in this story in this book, they're personal. This is not necessary. Good morning, Angie. How are you? It's not a personal vendetta to anybody. Good morning, Ophelia. But these are, I compiled everything that I went through in situations and I put them in this book. So this is about me and how I navigated and got through those things. You know, there was a time I had so many insecurities. If somebody did or moved or looked a certain way, it would totally shut me down. And that's what I'm saying. Sometimes what you're seeing, what you're hearing is not necessarily what's being said. Our comprehension is off. Our comprehension is off. And we're so clever. Do you know you could be in a place of insecurity and you will literally cause your mind to fabricate and you'll think God is telling you that stuff? You'll literally think God is telling you that stuff. And it's coming from a place of distortion. It's a place of distortion, and it's God's will not for us to just be healed, but be whole. So there's a need for healing and for wholeness and healing. So that's what you're going to get when you get A Chicken is a Chicken. It's a unique story about a gentleman that has a chicken. And like I said, I'm not going to go into the whole story because I want you all to purchase the book. But you navigate through these principles and places in this that he has to deal with. But I promise you, the impact of this book will help you in places that you're dealing with relationships. So who is this book for? It's for marriages. I think this is a good study. I'm actually currently working on the workbook now, but this is a good book for husbands and wives to navigate and create healthy communication skills. Single people, it's good for you to really go through this book to help you become settled and not intoxicated with your desires for what you're looking for in a mate. It's good for employment and people that are in the workplace because it helps you adopt habits and foster behaviors that help you work with your coworkers. You work well with your coworkers. So this book has different dynamics that speaks to all those areas. This particular, I want to read just a little excerpt from this. And this is from this is chapter 3, Unspoken Contracts. And this is how we put different requirements on people, and we never told them. We do some things sometimes we never told the people. We didn't ever tell you, and I know my wife and I, and like I said, all of these are from situations that I've dealt with. My wife and I, when we first got married, we dealt with those things. And most women have this philosophy of how they want the husband to treat them. And some of those systems of belief have to do with your culture and your makeup and not necessarily what has been tabled as such. Y'all follow what I'm saying? So you have to open up your mouth and communicate those things, or you live in a place of disappointment. So now you're constantly being disappointed by your husband, and it sets up a place of resentment in you because you didn't tell him. And then we say stuff like, they should have known. Everybody know that, right? So watch this. I want to read this a little bit from you. This is an excerpt that you can hear from the book in, hold on 1 minute, y'all. Let me get to a good portion in it. All of it is good. Okay, let's do this. Clarity requires more than expression. It requires alignment. It requires taking the time to ensure that what is being said is what is being understood. It requires recognizing that people interpret things differently. That experience shapes preciseness. And that is what feels obvious to a person when they're being completely unclear to one another. So what it's simply saying is this: when we say stuff, it's made, it's captured, it's created, it's enhanced by my views and my opinions of my upbringing, my culture, and all those dynamics. So when someone says something, it has to go through filters to really enhance their comprehension. For example, I'm going to give you an example. If I were to say, oh, I saw a fox yesterday, right? If I made that statement, what am I saying? Did I literally see a fox? Or did I see a fine lady? Because depending upon somebody from the 70s, they called ladies fox. She is a fox. She's a real fox. Or did I see a car? Because I believe in the 80s, I believe there was a car called a fox. You see what I'm saying? So when it deals with interpretation, now, I know some people, you probably say, oh, that's a bit like, I don't have to go through all that stuff. Well, this is what happens a lot of time. And this is why we don't have healthy communication skills, which we cannot foster healthy relationship expectations. You have to understand what was meant, what was being said. So it takes us pausing. It takes us pausing to find out if the verbiage, if the dialect is aligned. That's a big word, aligned. My son has this thing that he does, and it's really great. I pray he never loses it. When you tell Zion to do something, he'll say, okay, so what you're saying is X, Y, Z. That technique, that practical application of doing is called reflective listening. Reflective listening says, after you told me something or after something has been said, I give it back to you to ensure I have properly interpreted correctly what it is that you said. Right? So when we're talking about keeping ourselves in a place where we can have healthy, good expectation. There's nothing wrong with having expectation. I heard somebody once say they don't have any expectation. That's scary to me because you need to have some type of expectations, right? But they need to be healthy and realistic. That's it. They need to be healthy and realistic. Because when you don't have, what do I mean healthy, realistic? Sometimes you can have expectations on people that they just can't, they don't have the bandwidth to uphold. They don't have the capacity to uphold. If somebody's always late, you're the one that's off because they already told you they're going to be late. So until they see that as being something that is necessary for them to change, they're going to always be late. So what it says for you, if I'm going to interact with whoever the person is, I have to understand that they're going to be late. I enjoy their company. If that is not a deal breaker for you to sever that relationship, then what you're going to have to say, I'm going to tell her that we're going to show up at 30 minutes earlier because I know she's always late. Is that making sense, y'all? And what happens now, it puts you in a place that you're not flustered. Hey, Zema, how are you? It puts you in a place that you're not ticked off and unraveled. Have you ever had somebody, maybe you're going out somewhere with somebody and y'all had to do something, and due to a certain expectation you had on that person, you sitting there at the dinner or at the movie, whatever, you in your feelings, you in your whole feeling, because they have uprooted your peace. And the only reason your peace is forfeited is because you had an expectation, number one, watch this, y'all, that you didn't make clear. All of this is in this book. Yeah, and so if you say he's just trying to sell that book, amen. You are absolutely right. I perceive that you could be a prophet because that's what I'm trying to do. I want you to get this book in your hand, not for you to just get in your hand to support me. Thank you for the support, but I believe without a shadow of a doubt that this book is going to help break some things off of people's life. I am so sure about this book. This book is much different from any book that I have written. And I'm being so truthful when I say that. That's not a gimmick. I'm being so truthful. I believe the principles in here because one of the things that I found out with us as a people, most of our mishaps happen because of expectations in unclear expectations, unclear communication of what it is that we want, because sometimes we don't know what we want, right? Chapter 4 talks about capacity and desires. And this deals with, sometimes you want something, but you might not even have the capacity to deal with it because it has to deal with you. Okay, I'm going to give you an example. Like I said, I'm giving you points from the book. I'm not going to go all the way through it because I want you to buy it and curl up and be able to, read it. So what am I saying? And I'm going to use this to the single ladies. Y'all don't beat me up, but I'm going to have to use you up for a minute. Like, for example, you'll say that, like, they might say, hey, peeps. They might say, oh, I want a man that does this. And they go down the list. I want a man to do this, and I want a man to do that. I'm keeping myself for that man to do this. And they have all these requirements that are listed. Now, remember, we're talking about capacity and desire, right? All in this book. Chicken is chicken. Capacity and desire. So they don't take, or we don't take a census of what it's going to require me for that what I desire. Do I have the capacity to accommodate it? I'm going to let that sit for a minute because that's a lot to chew on. Okay? So, for example, what am I saying? And I'm going to make this real short and sweet, and you'll catch this, what I'm saying. If you have the desire to be and to want and to expect a king, right? If you're expecting a king, then you have to ask yourself, even though that's my desire, do I have the capacity to be queen material? Are y'all getting this? Because the only thing that's going to attract a king is a queen. So now we're talking about capacity and desire. You're like, what? All of that's to deal with relationship? Yes. Because when you deal with the relationship and you want to interact with other people, you cannot exempt yourself. Y'all, I'm getting excited. I'm sounding like I'm preaching. But you can't exempt yourself. There's things that we have to do. There's things that we have to tweak in our system to accommodate, because it's like you can't have your yin without the yang. They complement Adam and the Eve. They complement in the dynamics, in the essence of who they were. They were authentic and true to who they were. So what does that speak to us? We have to regulate. We have to regulate our expectations and find out what is it that is real. What is it is fantasy? Come on. Because some stuff is fantasy. And what is some stuff that we don't have the capacity to fulfill, neither does that individual that you're laying that on. Now, it doesn't have to be romantic relationship. It could be relationship, friends, right? If y'all enjoying this, give me some thumbs up. Because this is why you got to get this book. You got to get this book because all this is in here. Trust me, it's all in here. Let's do a few more. Y'all enjoying this? So, here, this is a good one. Chapter 5 says, stop training chickens to bark. Now, this probably be hard to explain this because you're going to have to read the book. It's stop training chickens to bark. Now, what this particular chapter deals with is once somebody has told you what they are, who they are, stop trying to change them. Right? Hence the name of the book, A Chicken is a Chicken. And in this book, Jim, the character is Jim, he tries to change the chicken. He tries to change the chicken, not realizing a chicken is going to do what chicken do. Chicken do chicken stuff. A chicken don't know how to do dog stuff. A chicken does not know how to comprehend or do stuff outside of what he is. Why do we expect people? I mean, we get mad with folk. Why do we get mad with people when we expect them to change and adapt to something that they're not? Right? Because they can only do that for a while. They can, if you're interacting with a friend and let's say it's a good friend of mine and he's a person that he's real monitored with his money, right? And that's a polite way to say he's stingy. He don't do no paying out. So I can't get mad every time we go out to eat, I'm catching the bill. It's like, man, every time we go out, Ted, I don't know what's wrong with him. He's just stingy. Every time we go out, I'm going to go out next week, and I'm not going to pay because he's going to pay. Go out next week with Ted, Ted don't pay nothing. Because who is crazy here? Well, let me not use that word. No, nobody's crazy. But Who is missing the signal? Is that a better way of saying it, y'all? Who is missing the signal here? Ted has already told you he ain't paying for nobody's lunch. Ted has already told you, I don't do that kind of stuff. Ted has already demonstrated to you consistently, this is how I operate. Are y'all getting this? The aha moment is whatever somebody shows you consistently, that's who they are. It's not going to change because you think it should change. It's not going to change until they feel like it's an area in their life that needs to be changed. Oh, that's a bomb moment, y'all. I'm telling you, that was like, that's an arch moment. That's an arch state because it's like the blinders have to come off. And you have to accept that person. Ted does not. So why would I keep going out to dinner, me and Ted, my boy, and I'm expecting him to pay, and I'm the only one mad? Ted fine, because Ted eating his food. He eating his salad that he paid for. He eating all the stuff, and he ain't even worried about that. It ain't even dawned on him. You know why? Because that's not even a concern of his, because that's how he operates. So what I need to do in that particular chapter, what it deals with, I have to come to the place I cannot teach a chicken to be a dog. I cannot train a chicken to be a dog because that will never happen. Even if they adopted certain characteristic, a chicken will never be a dog and a dog will never be a chicken, right? So when we deal with people with those things, we have to take that under consideration. Y'all enjoying that? Okay, I'm gonna do one more. Y'all really got to do this, okay? Watch this one. Chapter 7 say, adjusting the expectation lenses, all right? Adjusting your expectation lenses. So I'm going to read, I think this is good right here. So this is a little bit from the book, and this chapter is adjusting your expectation lens. This is the power of adjusting your expectation lenses. It allows you to see patterns instead of moments. It helps you recognize consistency instead of focusing on isolated incidents. Y'all see that? It shifts your focus from what you hope will happen to what is actually happening. In that shifting creates clarity. Many frustrations in relationships come to a halt because you no longer ignore the patterns that you saw and hold on to them with hope. Y'all seeing that? So we have to come to a place because some of us are hopeful even in relationship. You hope they're going to change, and it's been 3,700,000 years and that person's still doing the same stuff. You the only one. You are the only one that's still living in that place because you haven't accepted the fact you got to adjust your lens. You're the ones. Watch this. But patterns reveal truth. Not word, not promises, not potential, but patterns. Patterns reveal truth. So anything, and I've learned this, anything an individual does consistency, that's who they are. Right? I don't have to think about being late. If that's who I am, that's what I'm going to do. I don't have to concentrate, ooh, I'm going to be late. No, that's a part of my makeup. Right? If I'm a person that's on time, I'm conscious and I'm partial to that because that's what I hold as value, right? And here's a hard statement that we don't understand, but it's the truth. All this in the book. Chicken is a doggone chicken. You need to get this. What really happens, this is the thing, y'all, and I'm going to say this is truthful and it's going to be harsh. When we keep putting ourselves in the way of those things, what we're really saying is we're allowing people to abuse and disrespect us, and it's okay. I'm going to let that sit. I remember telling my client, because one time I had a client that was late all the time, and they would laugh and joke about it. And I had to tell them, I said, no, because what's happening is me, it ain't you. Because I'm constantly allowing you to disrespect me in the area of time. Because what you're saying is, you're not important for me to consider that. I'm going to go to the store, I'm going to go shop, and I know you still going to take me. There's no type of repercussions. There's no type of correction of the behavior. We continue to let people do that when boundaries are broken, right? So another chapter, and this is going to be the last one for real, because y'all ain't going to have to buy the book because I'm going to tell you everything, right? But no, there's more in here. So chapter 9 deals with boundaries. When a chicken stays a chicken. And what this has to do is when you come to the fact that you've accepted things and you begin to set boundaries. Some of us don't know how to set clear boundaries. I call them bumpers and boundaries. And the Lord gave me this. I told you all of these things for this book is out of me. The Lord gave me this when I would go bowling. And when we would go bowling, you know, certain people that are not skilled, I'm not one of those people. Shade intended. That was shady. And I meant, yeah, that's a lot of shade I'm throwing. Because it's the truth. I mean, I'm good. I bowl well. I'm sorry if you don't like that. Accept it. A chicken is a chicken. I bowl well. Anyway, but one of the things that I found out, that if you're not a person that bowls well, they have these things. You press a little button. Hey, Tor, I'll be up there in a minute. They put these things on the side. They're called bumpers, and they come up. And what they do for those that are not as advanced or as skilled, they help guide your ball, and hopefully you'll get a strike, right? What it says is, y'all ain't gonna like this, but I'm gonna say it. What it says is your level of maturity when it comes to bowling is not as sharp. So we're gonna help you. We're gonna give you aid until you get to that place, right? So what does it mean? Bumpers and boundaries are when you set lines. You give like areas, and you tell people, you have to tell people and be clear. Hey, I can go out and eat with you, but everybody gonna bring their own money. And I'm gonna tell you right now, people do not like boundaries. People don't like boundaries. They don't want to respect your boundaries. Well, I'll say people that are not wanting to be grafted in your community, right? We have different shelves. I ain't even going on the shelf life, y'all. I'm working on another book. It's called Shelf Life, because it's talking about the ranking of friends and the hard truth that we don't like to, admit. Everybody ain't in your close circle. I forgot I had this thing hanging on this. Does that make sense? We want them to be there, but everybody's not in your close circle. So when you set boundaries, first of all, real quick, I'm going to give you a quick lesson on setting boundaries. First, you have to understand what boundaries are necessary in your life. So that means you have to come to a clear, concise, understanding of what boundary you need in your life. In order to do that, you have to understand how you're wired. You have to understand how you're working, how you work with different things before you can set boundaries. You can't give a boundary for somebody else when you don't understand the boundary for yourself, right? If you're dating, and I'm gonna tell y'all right now, I'm just straight up, and like I said, I ain't for everybody, because what I'm about to say, some people might get offended, but it's okay. Go to another channel. I love you still. If you freaky, like late in the evening, you trying to date, and you get a little freaky, you get a little anxious, you know what I mean? You get a little expressive, then you need to set a boundary for yourself before you can set a boundary for a mister. And likewise with brothers, okay? So what I'm going to do, my boundary for me, I don't go out dates after 12. After 12, I'm going back home, right? So I set that boundary for me, right? Why? Because I know what's housed in me. So now when I interact with somebody, or I'm bringing somebody into my community, the bumpers and boundaries I'm going to set is, hey, yeah, I'm really feeling your company. I'm really enjoying you, but I don't hang out after 12. Is that going to be a problem with you? Are y'all seeing how that works? I'm making clear the boundary. And what does it do with the person? That individual now understand, because of that boundary, because of that clear expectation, she can now make the decision if I want to participate in the gathering of who you are. Does that make sense? Because they're like, oh no, you too much. That's too much. And it's not that you're too much. It's too much for them, because they're. I was gonna say that, but I ain't gonna say that, because people gonna think I'm on the worldly thing. But the world folk would say they vibrating at a low vibration. But no, people sometimes, because you have hosts. Here's the thing. A boundary is a boundary is a boundary. I don't care how I don't like it. If that's your boundary, that's what I have to. If I want to interact with you, That's your boundary. Marlena, well, I call her Marlena. She's on here. And when you go to Marlena's house, you got to take your shoes off and put on some socks. She give you socks. I don't care how I don't like that. And I'm saying that, y'all, she going to get a kick out of this because I don't like to take my shoes off. When I went to her house, I took my shoes off and I put them socks on. Why? Because if I wanted to go in her house, that's what I had to do. And I think sometimes we become expressive in areas that nobody wants to hear your expression. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back of the chat. We think it's okay for us to be expressive and nobody don't want your expression, right? You either comply or you don't. It says that if I want to have fellowship with you, these are the things, because these are the boundaries I have set. Either you comply or you don't. I don't care how you don't like that the hotel say checkout is at 12 or 11, some of them 11:30, 12. I don't care how you don't like that. Man, that's stupid. Checkout time should be at 2. And somebody like, checkout time should be at 5. I don't care how you don't like it. When they say checkout time, you better get your hips up out of that place or you're going to have another charge on there. So when you, watch this, when you go beyond a boundary that has been set by an individual, somebody say put some Bible on it. When you go beyond a boundary that has been set by an individual, you have now sinned. It's called, somebody, well, how you, wait, hold on now, sir. Hold on, how I'm sinning now? You have sinned. Yeah, we don't like to own up to that. You know what it's called? It's called a trespassing. I'm going to let that sit. Because somebody like, oh, no, yeah. When a brother or a sister has asked you to do something and you don't comply and you go beyond that boundary that they have set, you are now in sin. It is an offense because you have trespassed. I don't have time to teach that. That's a whole different teaching. Sin is the category, right? Forgive us of our sins. But there's different types of sin, right? And I know somebody's going to be clapping back at me, but read your Bible. There's the sin of trespassing, transgressing, iniquitous ways. Okay? So when you're operating, that's how big this is. I told y'all, you're going to want to have this in your library. You're going to want to have this in your library. And this is not going to be, this is a kingdom textbook. That's what I'm going to call it later. This is a kingdom textbook. What do I mean a kingdom textbook? This is going to be one of those books that you're going to put on your shelf and you're going to write it up and highlight it, all that kind of stuff, because it's literally a manual for healthy communication in relationship with people in any dynamic. This will help you with a relationship with your pastor. If you take the information, yeah. Because what it does, it gives us a healthy sense of expectation. Some of us put too much expectation on our pastors. We think the pastor got to do the communion, got to come out and heal the sick, raise the dead at your house, come back and pray over your vegetables, come in the house and help you, your refrigerator sick, lay hands on your refrigerator. It's like all these requirements. And then you better preach good Sunday, pastor. And I'm not leaking. I'm just saying. The expectation that we put on people. Right? But this book helps you come to a place where it keeps you centered. Y'all, I need to shave. See, right there, some of y'all was expecting me to be shaved, but I'm not. Adjust your expectation. Is this blessing y'all? So, this book, it is on purchase at Amazon, but I'm having my book launch on. I told him I shouldn't say that first, but because I'm not mailing nothing out. But if you're in the city, in the area, and you want to get this book, come to my book signing, book launch will be at New Genesis Christian Worship Center on June the 14th. That's a Sunday evening. I would love to have you in the place and sharing. I'll be signing books And also, I'm going to have a live podcast, taping, recording, whatever you want to call it. And you'll give a chance to have some Q&A questions about relationships. So if you have some questions about relationships and you would like to hear me expound on or my views as it concerns those things, then make it your business to come out and save your seat. A few days from now, I will be putting up a RSVP portal, if you will. You don't have to pay anything, but we are going to have some little food and crumpets and different things of that nature. A little juice for you to drink. And I need to get a count. So in a few days, I'm going to be putting up a place for you to RSVP so that we'll know that you're coming so I could properly prepare for you. And if you can, or if you can't stay, come by and pick up your copy of A Chicken is a Chicken. This is my genius, my brainchild. I am super excited for this book to get in your hand. And I mean that, y'all. Zern my spirit, check me out. That's not a selling pitch, but I really feel like this book is different. And I've been telling everybody that. I think the reason why it was delayed for so long is because of that reason. I believe it's really going to help us in the areas of developing healthy expectation, as well as interacting with people and not allowing your peace to be forfeited, because we're people. I'm a people, you're a people. We can't say people are a trip, because when we say that, we include us too, because we're part of the people species. You see what I'm saying? So when we make that statement, we're talking about all of us, and we do. We all have different pettiness. We all have different just particulars, if we will, and they're partial to us, the individual. And we can't turn our nose up about that, because that's a particular of a person. That's what makes them them, right? But we need to seek to understand, because if I love you, my sister Tisha on there, if I love Tisha, I want to find out about her because I enjoy her company. I enjoy going out to eat and hanging out with her. So I find out what's in her world and respect her boundaries, so we will have great interaction, great community, and great fellowship. And that's what it's about. It's not about accepting trauma. It's not about accepting those things that people push off on us, but it's having a healthy outlook and expectation on how we're going to interact, and giving a game plan to do that. This is the plan of how we interact. Everybody's not in your inner circle. But if you study, if you look in the Bible, there's a word that's called philea love. And it comes from brotherly love. That means being courteous. You don't have to know a person, know them to love them. And one of those dynamics is to be polite, to say please and thank you, to hold the door for someone. That's just being a good human. You see what I'm saying? And that's interaction in the different layers and levels of relationship. So I believe that this will be a great asset, a great addition to your spiritual library. It will be a great gift for someone. It's a great gift for someone. If you know of somebody that's had relationship, turbulence, this will be a good book to help them go through it. I was talking to a good friend of mine, and she was like, she calls me Apostle. She's like, Apostle, I'm so glad you got the book out. And she had been hearing some of the things that I've been posting, because I've been posting like excerpts from the book on my Instagram channel. And, you know, she was just giving me kudos about how necessarily needed for this time. And I believe that it's God's will that we are healed, because you think your ministry is doing what it's supposed to do. You think you minister to people. Get healed for real. Get all that stuff out. Why can I say that? Because there are areas that I'm aware of I'm healed, and there's things that I'm continuing to walk through. Amen. That's why we need community. We need community to have those people that are accountable to us, so they can point out, hey, you know that, and not being judgmental. What's the difference between judgmental and pointing out things in areas that we can kind of take a little notice to? It's almost like with love. If I was out and I dropped something on my shirt and I didn't know it, you know, Couture would probably say, hey, bro, you got something on your collar. That's not to embarrass me. That's not nothing to poke fun at me, but it's to watch this, bring an awareness would hopefully I would do something about it. Because when a person loves you, they say this. Tori be saying, dude, I love your company. I love being around you, but I don't want you to walk around with that spot on your shirt because it's going to affect us, right? So she's going to tell me that, so I'll clean that up so I look presentable, right? Same way when it deals with relationship. People tell you those things, not they feel like they know all, not that they feel like they're without blemish and they're just at a perfected state, but it's to bring an awareness. And what I found with dealing with people, very few of us have an awareness. We're not aware of those things. So we do things and we really don't know. We really don't know. So guys, I hope that you all have enjoyed this presentation. A chicken is a chicken. Managing healthy relationship expectations. It's dropping. You can pre-order now, but June the 14th at 6 o'clock at New Genesis Christian Worship Center, I'll be having my book launch, book signing, book celebration, whatever you want to call it. Please stop by. We will be doing a live podcast recording, God's will. So please come on and be a part. If you have questions about relationships, I believe God has prepared me for this particular moment. I believe there's a lot of insight that I can give individuals in relationships, no matter where the dynamic is. I believe that God has allowed me in this season to be a thought leader with this particular topic in this conversation. So come out when I launch the RSVP. Go ahead and put that out there. It's going to be a engaging conversation, very non-threatening. Nothing is off limits. We're going to talk and try to help you navigate through those turbulent relationship things that God will bring us to a place of healing and wholeness. Some of it might not even be the other people. It could be us. It could be us. And we have to come to a place that we're not intoxicated, right? That's what the Bible tells us. We shouldn't be intoxicated with anything, but he tells us to be sober in the spirit of your mind. What is he telling? Don't allow outside sources, outside whispers, outside influences to cause a intoxication. And when we talk about intoxication, we know that's when you're under the influence. That's what that means. Don't allow yourself to be forced, positioned in a place where you're under the influence of negative thoughts, unclear perception, unhealthy expectation. You don't want to be in that place. So you want to get there. That's June the 14th at 6 o'clock at New Genesis Christian Worship Center. I'll drop the address of the church in the link. Be on the lookout very soon. I think Saturday I'm going to drop the RSVP so we can prepare for you. Y'all know me. I like to do things with the spirit of excellence. So if you plan to drop by, come by. I'll even sign the book for those that want me to sign the book. I'll be signing the book for those that so want. But come out and hang out and let's have good, godly conversation. Amen. Y'all have a great one. This has been real. Please pass this on to somebody who might need this information. I just wanted to jump on this morning to share my thoughts with somebody. So share this with somebody because now I got to get ready to go to work. Have a good one. I hope you were blessed, and I'll see you soon.
It's relationships. Yeah, we do the work. Turn the pain into purpose, make it all make sense. When relationships shift, don't drift.